If you're a commission salon or spa owner working nonstop, barely paying yourself, and wondering how in the heck this became your life, you need a serious upgrade. Welcome to the station. Hey friends, welcome back to the station. This is the podcast where salon and spa owners stop running their businesses on the edge of burnout and start leading with systems, boundaries, and confidence. I'm Bree, founder of the Beauty Biz Agency, and every week we are giving you the real leadership and coaching strategies and mindset shifts to help you run a business that works behind the scenes, not just on the surface. I have got my amazing co-founder and co-host Chandra here with me today. Hey girl, what's up?
Hello. Not much.
How are you doing?
Doing good.
Awesome. Okay, if you're out there and you've ever felt weird, guilty, or maybe just straight up avoidant about charging a cancellation fee, this episode is going to change absolutely everything. Because let's be honest, when someone no-shows or cancels last minute, it doesn't just mess up your numbers. It messes with your time, your energy, your team's rhythm. And if it keeps happening, it's going to slowly chip away at your confidence as well. But here's the truth that nobody talks about. Cancellation policies, they aren't about punishing your clients. They are about protecting your business. They're about teaching people, clients and team members included, what's expected, what's valued, and what's not going to fly at your studio. So today we are diving into why cancellation policies matter more than you even think probably, how to write one that actually works, and how to get your team aligned around them. Also, we're going to talk about how to communicate it with clients in a way that feels professional and not harsh. With that being said, Chandra, what do you have to say about cancellation policies before we dive in deep?
I think it's definitely something you need to implement. I think it's something you should have in your business. I do think it helps protect the business and the stylists. And I think it's something you shouldn't be afraid of.
I agree. Now, before we dive in too deep, I want to tell everybody about a coaching client that we had. We worked with her. We are just going to call her Mel for the sake of this. She had a solid business, a full team, busy books, but cancellations, they were quietly draining pretty much everything. Gaps in the schedules were happening all the time. Stylists were unsure of whether to charge the fee, whether not to charge it. Guests were pushing boundaries left and right. Like many salon and spa owners out there, Mel had a cancellation policy, but it was doing her no good because it wasn't being followed. So we helped her restructure the entire thing. It was a clear written policy, automatic systems, consistent team training, and most importantly, leadership that modeled the standard. Within a few weeks, her cancellations dropped. The team, they became more confident. The salon started running smoother. And Mel, she finally got out of that constant stress spiral. Chandra, I know that we have seen this exact issue more times than we can count, to be honest. What do you think makes cancellation policies so hard to enforce, even when we know we have to have them?
I think part of it is, innately in this industry, most of us are people pleasers, and we don't want to have that conversation with the client that they have to be charged because they didn't show up or they canceled last minute. And I think we just get afraid of it. I think with a lot of times that the biggest issue is we're afraid to enforce it, even though we might know we need it, but we just don't want to have that conversation.
Exactly. And 99 times out of 100, it's not that the policy is broken. It's actually that the leadership behind it is broken. So let's start from the top and break down why this even matters. Number one, let's talk about why policies matter more than anybody thinks. We need to go deeper than just, you need a policy to protect your books. The real reason cancellation policies matter are because they shape how time is really respected in your business, from the front desk to the floor to the guest chair. I mean, all the way throughout your business. When you don't have a clear, consistent standard for how time is treated, the entire business is going to start to feel extremely chaotic. Your stylists, they start wondering why they should care about being on time if guests can cancel with no consequences. Guests, they get really comfortable pushing the boundary because let's be honest, they've been trained that there isn't one. And you end up being the one who quietly resents every single person, even though you're the one that hasn't drawn the line clearly. And that resentment, it's going to show up in the tone of everything that you do, in your emails, in how you lead team meetings, and how you respond to one more no-show that you don't charge for once again. It shows up everywhere. So here's what we tell our coaching clients. Your cancellation policy, it isn't just a business decision. It should be a leadership standard. And leadership standards, they aren't built for just the easy days. They're built for the pushback moments, the uncomfortable conversations, the time someone's standing at the front desk asking for one more exception, and you have to decide, do I bend or do I lead? And the second you make your boundaries optional, you are making your leadership optional too. Chandra, what would you say to the owner who knows that they need the policy, but they're really, really scared that it's going to put guests away or maybe just create tension amongst their team or their business?
I mean, I think you have to look at the main reason that you need it. And I mean, I dealt with all of those things when we implemented our cancellation policy. And at the end of the day, like, what is the purpose of the policy? Why do you have it? And I think that's what you have to lead with, and understanding, like, the reason we have this is because it's not just, like you said, about protecting the books, but at the same time, there has to be some accountability too for the clients and for the team when people are canceling all the time or moving their appointments around all the time. And so I think that's really where you have to put your mindset instead of freaking out about it, just kind of looking at it from that realistic standpoint of this is something that we have to have because of those. There's many reasons that you want to have it. And so having it for all of those different reasons is going to be the most important thing to get you through that fear.
Yeah, I think the mindset shift about policies is everything. Because once you stop seeing your policy as a punishment and start seeing it as an actual leadership tool, the fear around enforcing it really kind of starts to fade. And we see this with our BBA members all the time. So let's kind of keep building on that, because knowing why a policy matters is one thing, right? But if it's not written well, if it's not communicated clearly, or if it's not built into your systems, it's really just a paragraph on your website that nobody cares about. So let's talk about how to actually create a cancellation policy that works in the real world, not just on paper. This is where a lot of owners get stuck, in my opinion. They either overcomplicate the policy and make it feel like it's this legal document that has to hold up in court, or they oversimplify it to the point that it is so vague and it is full of loopholes everywhere. So here's the coaching that we give to our client. Your cancellation policy should be clear, professional, and enforceable. It shouldn't be dramatic. It shouldn't be defensive, just direct. It just needs to be direct. It should answer 4 questions. How much notice is required? Is it 24 hours, 48 hours? Whatever you do, just pick one and freaking stick to it. What happens if that notice isn't given? Is it a flat fee? Is it a 50% charge? Is it the full service amount? Once again, pick one, stick to it. What counts as a late cancel or a no-show? You need to be extremely specific. More than 15 minutes late is better than if you're really late. So very, very specific in your wording, right? And how is the fee going to be processed? Is it the card on file? Are people invoiced? Do they have to, have something that is going to be required before they book again? You just need to figure those out and be specific. And then this is the part that a lot of people miss. It needs to be built into your guest journey. That means the guest should see it everywhere before they book, in their confirmation text and emails, on your intake forms, again at the checkout when they rebook. Like, it needs to be everywhere. The reason for this is, in my opinion, Chandra, and I want to hear what you think, but repetition creates understanding, and understanding creates compliance. How do you feel about that?
Oh, for sure. And I think it makes it easier when you do have everything really spelled out, really clear, and you're consistently sticking with it. It makes it easier for your front desk to have the conversations with clients. It makes it easier for your team members to have those conversations and to hold people accountable because they know every single piece that's part of this cancellation policy where they're not like, oh, I don't know. Let me see if we can make an exception, or, oh, I don't know. Let me see if I could do this. And then it starts to fall apart. So I think making sure that you have that all spelled out like that and it's very clear, it just makes everything more seamless and it makes it less frustrating for everyone in the business.
Yeah, I'm going to be really honest with you. In the beginning, I didn't put mine into my guest journey at all. Like it was just something that was on our website. It went out with our text reminders, our email reminders, all of those things. But when it came to training my team, it wasn't in our onboarding and our training. It wasn't part of that guest experience. And so they were not familiar on it. And we lost tens of thousands of dollars in the beginning because I didn't lead the way that I was supposed to lead. And so I think really building it into there is very, very important. One more thing that I want to add is the tone of your policy matters. You don't have to sound angry. You don't have to sound rigid. You can be firm and professional. Something simple, right? Like, we value your time and ours. Please provide at least 24 hours notice for cancellations in order to avoid a fee. Like, it's simple, it's clear, it's respectful, it's unapologetic. Chandra, we have seen a lot of cancellation policies from a lot of different salon owners as we've coached together. What do you feel is one common mistake salon owners make when they are writing their own? And how would you go about kind of helping them fix that?
I think the biggest mistake when they're writing it is sometimes they do come across sounding like angry and not sounding complete. It's confusing. Like the policy will be confusing in the way that it's written. So the clients are confused, the team members are confused. And I think going and really, like you said, hitting each of those points and knowing exactly what you're going to do in each circumstance, exactly what the fee is, exactly how it's charged, exactly how everything's done, and then just following that is the best way to counteract that. Because yeah, we've seen some that have been written so weird that I'm like, I don't even understand, and I'm in the business. Like, so you definitely need to make sure that it makes sense and that it's coming across in that professional manner where it's just like, this is our policy. This is why we have it. This is how much it is. There's no exceptions. That's just what it is, and that way you don't have all that mess happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy because in this industry, we get so close to our clients, right? A lot of us look at clients as our friends and things of that nature. And so to run a salon like an actual business can be very, very hard at times. But at the end of the day, we preach this. This is your livelihood. It is so sad that over 87% of salon owners never get to retire. And the reason for that is they don't run their salons like a business. And so you have to start thinking about you and your family and your future. And in order to do that, you have to have policies like this to protect yourself. It's really, really important. Okay, so now let's just say you've got your policy. It's clear, it's written, and it is part of your systems, your guest experience, everything else. But here's the real test. What happens when a client cancels last minute and your team completely hesitates to enforce it? That's a good one because it happens all the time. Even to this day, I have people try to slide by with it. I'm not going to lie. A cancellation policy is really only as strong as the people upholding it. That's the reality. And if your team isn't confident in using it, the whole thing is going to fall apart. So let's talk about what it really looks like to get team buy-in and how to coach your staff so they stop second guessing the standard and they start leading it. I feel like this is one of the biggest breakdowns, Chandra, that we see in salons, not just with the cancellation policy, but with a lot of policies. It's the execution of them, right? And honestly, like I just admitted to earlier, it's not your team's fault. If they were never trained on how to communicate the policy, if they've seen you bend the rules just this one time, if they feel like they're going to sound rude or maybe lose a client, of course they are going to back down. But your job as the leader isn't to just announce the standard, it's to teach it, model it, and support your team as they step into it. We coach our BBA clients to do this in 3 ways. Give your team the why is number 1. Help them understand that this policy doesn't just protect you. Like we said earlier, it protects their time, their paycheck, their schedule. When the team sees that it's something that actually benefits them, they are way more likely to get behind it. Chandra, how do you go about that portion in your salon?
Oh man, this can be a struggle. We struggled with this a lot when we implemented our cancellation policy. I had all my newer stylists are like, yeah, charge them, charge them, charge them. And then I had all my stylists who've been with their clients for like 20 plus years who were like, I don't want to charge my clients a cancellation fee. I don't want them to have to, get in trouble or pay this, which is so funny to me because they're really impacted by this. And it's like they don't see it. So when we first tried, we had tried everything. It's like, okay, well, if they reschedule, we won't charge it. Like we had that first built into our system. And finally, we had to just put it down and be like, doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it's really taking that client off the books for that day. So what if they reschedule for the following week, right? Like you made no money that day. And so it's really having to get them to understand that. Like we had to have a lot of hard conversations. I got a lot of pushback from those team members because they didn't want to enforce it with their clients. And we had to sit down and really show them like, this is how much money you're losing because of this. This is how much it's impacting. This is how much the clients actually don't respect your time because they think they just move all over the place and you're just going to come in early and stay late and do all these things for them. And so we had to really spend a lot of time getting them kind of behind this policy. And we finally got there, but it did take some time because they had to really understand what the point was. And we had to kind of explain it to them, even like it's our business, but it's still your business too, in a way where this is how you make your money. And so we really spent a lot of time on helping them see it from that perspective and then helping them understand that it's not a punishment, but we need people to be held accountable. And our cancellation policy isn't even about making money from the cancellation policy. It's about creating the habits in the client to give us enough notice. It's about creating the habits in the clients to keep their appointment if they can, instead of canceling it. And that way they don't have to get charged a fee. It's not about making money off the cancellation policy for us. So really they had to understand all those things and start creating those habits, and then us really working with them to come up with the right verbiage and explaining it in the right way. And we had a lot of pushback from their clients too, because their clients have been coming for all those years and never got charged, and so it was definitely a tough one when we implemented it. And I think a lot of salon owners deal with that and then they back down. They're like, oh, it's just too hard, and it's like, but it's really important. You have to put these things in place. Our cancellations went from literally 100+ cancellations every single month. And a majority of those people rescheduled. They weren't just cancels, but they went down 50% once we implemented that cancellation policy. And mostly it's people that just, hey, I decided to go do this. I'm going to cancel my appointment. Oh, you're going to get charged a fee. Oh, never mind. I'll keep it and come in, And so a lot of times it's just keeping those clients accountable for their time and giving you that notice. And so that's kind of what we had to do. I mean, it took us months to get some of these team members to understand the why behind it. But we finally got there and now everything's going good. But it's hard. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. It can be hard, but you really have to keep driving that why. Keep working through it with them and showing them why we need this. What's the point? What's the reason? What they're losing so that they can understand better to not be so afraid of it.
100%. So number 1 is share the why with your team. Number 2, or the second thing that we coach on at BBA, is role play real scenarios. Don't just hope that your team is going to know what to say. Practice it. Give them the exact phrasing for awkward conversations, right? Like, I totally understand that things come up, And we also have a policy to protect our team's time. Here's how we handle cancellations. You've got to talk them through this and teach them to be calm and confident and respectful. You really have to. And then back them up publicly, right? When a client pushes back and your team enforces the policy, don't leave your team hanging. Step in if needed. Affirm them in front of the team. This is going to build support and confidence. And it's really, really important because what we see happen sometimes is the team will actually do what they're supposed to do. And then the owner will come back and they're like, well, they've been a client with me for 30 years, so we'll just credit this to their next appointment. You can't do that. When your team is confident holding the line, everything is going to run smoother. There's no more guesswork, no more inconsistent enforcement, just a culture where the standard is actually followed. Chandra, what's one of your favorite ways to help a team feel more confident when they are enforcing policies without sounding cold or uncomfortable?
We really created a lot of scripting around this so that they felt empowered to have the conversation. Role play, like you said, we did a lot of that. And then I always back them up. These are what we created. If they're doing their job and this is what our policies are and what we're doing, like I would never, and I have done that, exactly that scenario that you just said in the past. When we first implemented that policy, we had some of our regular clients get upset and I was like, well, we'll give them a free pass, And I have done that. And it does like deflate your team because then they start to feel like, well, then it doesn't matter. So why am I even putting myself in this position to have these conversations all the time? And so really backing them up and making sure that they are very understanding of how it goes. We worked through it a lot. Like many times on the phone, we would have clients call, and when we'd ask for a credit card, we hold a credit card on file. They would sometimes ask for the credit card first, and then we realized people would get upset. So instead, we switched it to where we explained, hey, in order to hold your appointment, we do require a card on file. And I tell them, keep talking throughout the whole thing before you let them talk. Because then we say, we do hold a card on file. We don't charge it. It's encrypted. Nobody can have the card number. It's safe. Like we explain all those things. And then we ask for, let me go ahead and get your card number. Instead, we would notice sometimes they would say, oh, we need a card on file to book. And then the clients would be like, well, is this safe? Is it protected? And, they start having all those things. So we work through it to where it's like, okay, run through the whole conversation and then ask kind of for the card on file. And then they weren't getting pushback anymore. And so it's kind of working through those situations where, figuring out how's the best way to handle it when you have multiple things happen of the same situation over and over again. And then they're empowered to do it, and they feel fine doing it as long as they know you have your back, that you have their back, and that you are there. They feel comfortable with the way that you've set up your scripting and the way that they can talk about it. Then they'll do it, and it's so much easier. So
absolutely. So your team needs to understand the why behind it. They need to be trained. They need to do role-playing scenarios. They need all of those things, and then you have to have their backs. No ifs, ands, or buts. Those 3 steps cannot be missed. Okay, so now let's say you've got your policy written, your team is on board, but that's really only half the battle, because it's one thing to understand the policy. It's another thing to build the systems and the structure that actually make it easy to follow through every single time without any hesitation. So I want to walk through a step-by-step process that we kind of use at BBA when we are ready to clean this up once and for all, right? How to build and enforce a cancellation policy that actually works is one of the most important things you will learn, I feel, as a business owner. Because once you get that done, you can start creating all of the other policies that you need. And this is kind of where it all comes together. Because without structure, the best policies are going to fall apart. So if you are ready to stop living in the chaos and the awkward conversations, and you're ready to run a business where your time is respected and your boundaries hold, this is what you've got to do. I think there's 5 specific steps I'm trying to remember. So first one is write it down, right? Clearly and confidently. It should be short, direct, and easy to understand, not emotional, not aggressive, just clear. That's all you need. The second step is automate it through all of your systems. Store the cards on file. Like Chandra said, use booking software that sends out confirmation texts. Let the technology back up your boundaries. When the system enforces the fee, your team doesn't have to feel like the bad guy. Step number 3, communicate it before it's ever broken. So put it everywhere. Like we said earlier, confirmation text, guest paperwork, online, social media. The more often that guests see it before they cancel, the less pushback you're probably going to get. Step number 4, train your team. We talked about that. Very, very important. And step number 5 is be consistent every single time. No more doing what Chandra used to do, just this once. Every time you make an exception, you're teaching your team and your clients that your policies are optional, and that is going to undermine everything that you're trying to build. Chandra, out of those 5 steps, which one do you think owners struggle with the most? And what is a way that we coach people through this to help them follow through with it?
Sometimes the consistency is probably one of the most that they struggle with the most, in staying consistent with their policy and upholding it every single time. I think really even coaching through that process is just making sure that you make sure your team understands why it's important, but also making sure that you understand why it's important. Because I know for myself, that's what kind of pushed me to the point of saying, I don't know more. Like, there was no more exceptions. There's no more nothing. You guys have to do this every single time, making sure it was built into our guest journey, making sure that they understood what they needed to do. And then it just became the normal for us. And so I think that consistency and really understanding exactly the whole purpose behind it for even your whole business yourself is one of the biggest things that they struggle with. And I think that's one of the first ways to stop struggling with it and start getting it out of your head and just do it. It's your business. That's what matters. So
absolutely. I mean, it's really, really important. So you've got the policy, you've got the systems, you've got the steps on how to actually enforce this cancellation policy. But I know for a lot of owners, structure is just one piece of the puzzle. Once your business starts growing, the real challenge is going to become keeping your culture strong while everything expands around it. And this is why policies are so important. And a cancellation policy is a great way to start. As you grow your business, you are going to need policies and systems and structure around everything. And that kind of brings us into our listener question for today. This one comes from Crystal in Ohio, and she asked, how do you maintain your salon culture when you start adding more locations or expanding your team? Crystal, this is a great question, and honestly, one that a lot of owners don't think to ask until they are already knee-deep in growth and wondering why everything feels just completely off. Here's the thing. Culture isn't something you have, it's something you lead. And when your business starts growing, you cannot rely on being physically present to keep the vibe aligned. Once again, the structure, the policies, that's why it's so important. So here's kind of what we would tell one of our BBA members. First, you need to get crystal clear on what your culture actually is. What are your values? What's the energy that you expect in your studio? What kind of behaviors get celebrated? Which ones get corrected? Things of that nature. Then you want to put that into repeatable systems, onboarding, shadow days, team meetings, accountability check-ins, team-wide education. Culture has to live in how you train, lead, and correct, not just in how it feels when you're in the room, because I promise you, you're not going to be able to be everywhere at once and everything to everyone. And most importantly, you need to make sure your leadership team reflects your culture, because that's something you're going to have to build. Because the second you grow beyond what you can manage alone, your culture is only as strong as the people that you trust to carry it. Chandra, what would you say to the owner who's afraid that if they're not there to oversee everything, their culture is going to fall apart?
I mean, I think it definitely won't fall apart. I've been in that position before. And I think the biggest thing is kind of just what you said. You have to have everything really laid out, documented. This is our culture. This is how we do things. This is what we're about. And then really training that to your second team or your new team or whatever that is when you're not there. and making sure that, they're implementing it. You'll need a lead or someone in that location, but making sure that that lead is helping to create that culture, build that culture, and be part of that culture. And actually, when I did this, the lead that I had in that location actually, I feel like, did it faster than where I was before when I did it, because she just took the documentation and she said, this is how we do things. This is the way it is here. This is how everyone has to operate within these walls. This is what we're about. This is our mission, and help them get aligned. And I felt like it even grew faster because having that culture piece sort of documented and then having someone lead that really helped keep those people in line. So I think you've got to be organized with knowing exactly how you want things, what your expectations are, and what you're trying to grow and build, and really conveying that message out beyond just you.
Absolutely. I want to just piggyback off of that for just a second. So Chandra started her statement with, your culture definitely won't fall apart, but I don't want that to get misconstrued. She's absolutely right in what she said, right? As long as you have the structure and everything. But if you don't have that, your culture 100% will fall apart completely. Yeah. So don't get that misconstrued. If you don't have the right pieces in place, it will 100% be very, very difficult for you moving forward. One of the questions that I get asked quite frequently, like via messenger, email, things like that, Chandra, is, do you think culture evolves as a business grows, or should it stay the same at the core? And so I want to see your answer to that.
I mean, I think it does evolve. I think there is, the base core of it does somewhat stay the same, but I do think that your culture does evolve. You do sort of change into kind of where you're at now and where you're going, even if that base culture is what drives that evolution and those changes. But it definitely, it needs to change somewhat as your team grows and as your business grows and you have new clients coming in. And I think that it will evolve into something better as long as your base culture is really kind of what's driving where you're going. But yeah, for sure.
I 100% agree. In fact, I would go as far as saying it as, if your culture isn't evolving, then you're not doing something right. Because everything in life evolves, right? Like, none of us want to be the same forever, or we shouldn't want to be anyway. And so if your culture is not evolving, then you really need to rethink what you're doing. Here's the thing, right? What worked 30 years ago doesn't work now. Heck, what worked 6 months ago doesn't work right now all the time. And so everything needs to evolve, including your culture. And as your culture evolves, your leadership has to evolve as well. And I think that's why structure really, really matters. It doesn't matter if you are enforcing a cancellation policy, if you are scaling to multiple locations. When you don't have clear standards, your culture is going to start to drift. And when your culture starts to drift, everything else is going to start to feel heavier than it ever should. So let's land this episode where we started. A cancellation policy, it's not just about protecting your books. It's about protecting your boundaries. Every time you let it slide, every time you hesitate to charge the fee, you aren't just losing revenue. You are sending a message, and that message is going to echo through your team, through your guest, and through your culture. The most successful salons, they don't just have policies. They actually honor them. Not from a place of fear, not from a place of control, but from a place of leadership and respect. And if you are out there and you're listening to this and you're thinking, I need to fix this, but I have no idea where to start, well, that's where we come in. Inside of our coaching programs at the Beauty Biz Agency, we don't just give you policies. We teach you how to lead them. We will walk you through how to write them, how to roll them out, how to coach your team, and finally, how to create the structure that's actually going to stick so that you can get some of your time back as the owner. If you are ready to stop people pleasing and start leading with confidence, visit www.thebeautybizagency.com and check out some of our amazing resources and coaching programs. Chandra, what would you say to the salon owner who knows that they need structure? Like, they know it without a doubt, but they've been avoiding it because they don't want to come off as cold or rigid.
I mean, I think honestly, if you want your business to grow, it's not going to if you don't put structure in place. So it's a requirement if you're planning on scaling or growing your business. So if that's what your goals are, you need to definitely take a hard look at what you need to start putting in place, because you can't grow without it.
Yeah. And I'm going to go a step further than that even and say, if you ever want to have time back like a true CEO and a business owner should, structure's a must, 100% a must. Without structure, you will never have a real day off. You will always be bombarded with text and phone calls and fires that you are constantly having to put out. And in all honesty, I don't think we as salon owners realize how much that affects our personal life outside of our business. And we really, really need to take that into account more often. So very, very important. Look, if you got value from this episode, hit subscribe, leave us a review, and send it to a fellow salon owner who really needs to stop letting policies be optional, because that's how we're going to shift this industry together. Chandra, tell them how they can stay connected with us and everything we're doing at the Beauty Biz Agency.
Yeah, reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram at the Beauty Biz Agency. Send us a message. Let us know if there's any questions you would like answered on the air. We also have our Beauty Biz Agency Live, Facebook Live, on the first Monday of every month at 7 p.m. Central Time. So definitely pop in there. We'll always be offering a lot of good information. You can ask questions, you can get answered, things like that. So we would love to see you there as well. And if you have any questions or want to get more information, you can always shoot us an email at admin@thebeautybizagency.com.
Amazing. And that's a wrap. You've been listening to the station where beauty pros become powerful CEOs. Until next time, lead with boundaries, enforce with kindness, and stop apologizing for protecting your peace. Now go out there, make bank, run the show, and ditch that chair. And as always, keep slaying those business goals with a whole lot of swagger.